Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today I was going to do a book haul, but I think I'm going to save it for tomorrow or Monday, because I am trying to review every book that I read for the year of 2018, and I think I have done that for every book that I've read, with the exception of Raggedy Ann and Andy, the musical, translated into a 80-page book, and I don't feel like it's worthy of a whole book review, and I don't think anybody's gonna care. Anyway, go watch the movie. That would be my recommendation. Go watch the movie instead of reading the book. Okay, so anyway, but today I'm gonna do a review of Becky Albertalli's Leah on the Offbeat, and I was really excited to read this book because I had read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli, and I liked it. I thought it was great. I think I gave it like 4 stars. I don't know. It was like, I read this book like when I first got on BookTube, like a couple years ago, or maybe even before that. At the time that I was writing my own book, which is a LGBT young adult book listed below, the before, now, and after then. Go check it out. When I was writing that, I read a lot of LGBTYA for a couple reasons. One, because I was kind of researching the different stories that were out there, and that was one of the books that I had read at the time. So I was kind of inundated with like all of this LGBTYA that had recently come out. But the other reason was that when I was in high school, I did not have those stories to assimilate to. And, you know, I talk a lot about this on all of my channels, but I got sober when I was 22 and a half. I think a lot of my, using back in the day, my drinking and using drugs, had a lot to do with my lack of acceptance of my own sexuality. And I think that had I had more role models, and we were talking 1990, had I had more role models that were out in the world, more stories that I could associate with, or that I could, say, hey, that's me, on any different level, I think that maybe it wouldn't have affected me as greatly as it did. I just didn't come out in a time where there were a lot of people, there was nobody out in my high school, not one person. In fact, after I came out, when I was 18, people were like, oh, thank you so much for being out in high school. Thank you, because, you helped me. I was like, I wasn't out in high school, I know. But, there just weren't any books. I mean, I can remember going to look for books, and it would be like that book Maurice, which is such a boring read, or just, it was stupid. It was like, textbook kind of stuff. There weren't any stories about characters, or just, there were a few, but nothing that I could totally relate to. And even then, the movies didn't even come out for like a couple years, like with Jeffrey and things like that. I mean, it wasn't out there for us to have role modeled for us. So that this life, I was talking about this last night in my vlog, that one of the reasons why I think it's important for everybody to share their story that is open and out is that it's important for people to see that LGBT people are farmers, that they're bankers, that they're attorneys, that they're living in the suburbs with dogs and kids, that they're living in the city and they're drag queens, and, they're on pride parades and they're not at pride parades, and, they're on YouTube and they're on television and they're in movies and they're just, running a store down the street and they're working at McDonald's, and we're everywhere, and I think it's important, especially for the younger generation, and also for those people that are older that haven't come out yet, to see our visibility and realize that we are everywhere, because it makes it easier then for us to come out. And Becky Albertalli, I think, has really helped with doing that. And, she has taken a lot of criticism for being married, and people are assuming sexuality things on her, but I will say this, okay? As a gay man, and as a proud gay man, I feel like she writes very, very realistic gay male characters. That's all. I can only speak from my experience. I don't know what other people think. So I'm very, very thankful for Becky Albertalli, because I needed these stories when I was in high school. Now, I read Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda when it first came out, so a couple years ago. Last year I read The Upside of Unrequited, and it was one of my favorite books of last year. I mean, the book is phenomenal. And I really, really liked in that book that she had a cameo by Simon. But I don't know, and I know this is where people are going to get upset with me about this, and this is a spoiler for your review, so I'm not going to, ruin it for you. But I don't know that I needed an entire book dedicated to Simon and his friends again. Maybe if I had just read it or just seen the movie, which I think is part of the reason why it came out when it did, this book, because I think it came out right after the movie did. So she knew that, and she knew people were going to be, everybody's talking about this movie. I can't believe I haven't seen it yet, about how great it is. I can't wait to see it. But, you know, it was a smart move for her to put out a book on the heels of the Simon story, but talking about somebody different, but with the same friend group, because Simon is a very leading character in Leah on the Offbeat. So the story is, here, we'll get into the Goodreads. I was kind of blown away, honestly, by the Goodreads. So here's the cover of it. It's a beautiful cover. I love it. And what I love about covers like this is that when it references something in the book, so I'm not going to tell you what she's wearing and all that kind of stuff references in the book, because I want you guys to find that on your own. You should read this book. Now, I ended up giving it 3 stars, but I'll explain why in just a second. So the book says, Leah Burke, girl band drummer, master of deadpan, and Simon Spears' best friend from the award-winning Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens agenda, takes center stage in this novel of first love and senior year angst. When it comes to drumming, Leah Burke is usually on beat, but real life isn't always so rhythmic. An anomaly in her friend group, she's the only child of a young single mom, and her life is decidedly less privileged. She loves to draw, but is too self-conscious to show it. And even though her mom knows she's bisexual, she hasn't mustered the courage to tell her friends, not even her openly gay best friend forever, Simon. So Leah really doesn't know what to do when her rock-solid friend group starts to fracture in unexpected ways. With prom and college on the horizon, tensions are running high. It's hard for Leah to strike the first note while the people she loves are fighting, especially when she realizes she might love one of them more than she ever intended. So, okay. I gave this book 3 stars. I would probably give it a 76%. I put in my Goodreads review that this was my least favorite of her books. Now that's the problem, okay? Is that when you put out 2 fantastic books, and I honestly thought that The Upside of Unrequited was heads and tails better than Simon. I loved Simon, okay? But The Upside of Unrequited was really good. So then to come out with your next book just being like, it was just okay. The positives are that I think it was really important for us to have a solid bisexual character that, you know, had kind of an interesting story and was unique. And I haven't read a lot of bisexual characters, so I was very thankful for that. I will tell you that in the book, I don't know, Leah reminded me a lot of myself in high school. You know, very sarcastic, very cynical, and maybe that was why I kind of had a hard time reading her. Like, she's just real negative, okay? She's kind of, to be honest with you, a bitch. I mean, she just is. It's interesting to me that all these people just kind of flock to her and that she's Simon's best friend, because she is negative all the time. Like, it's hard to read. You know, and I love Julie Murphy's Dumpling, and you know, Willow Dean was negative too, but it was almost kind of in a funny way, and it also kind of came full circle, you know, and there are other negative characters out there that are kind of fun to read at times, but this was almost kind of, I mean, at some points I just was like, Leah, get over yourself, like, quit being such a bitch, you know, and especially with her mom's boyfriend, and I'll let you guys find out about that, but that story could have been developed so much more, because that was a part that I was really interested in, and then it kind of went somewhere and just stopped. The book felt very rushed to me. It didn't end where I wanted it to end. It kind of, I don't know, the ending I did not care for. So anyway, not because I thought that it ended differently than I thought it would, because it didn't. I just thought they could have used, I just thought it could have ended, I'll say this isn't a spoiler, but I thought it could have ended at graduation. That was just me. So anyway, and I thought that's what was going to happen in the book. But anyway, and that won't ruin it for you. It's just not any big real surprise. There's just a lot of stuff in there. First of all, here's the thing, okay? I hadn't read Simon in such a long time, and I haven't seen the movie, that when you get into this book, like, immediately, she drops, like, 20 characters' names on you, and it's like, oh, and this person's going to get a Coke, and Garrett's doing this, and Bram is doing that, and Simon's doing that, and, oh, Simon and Bram, do you want to go do this, and Leah this, and Anna, and you're like, I don't know who these people are. Quit throwing them at me so fast. Like, I was so confused. I was almost like, could you put at the beginning of the book, like, I don't know, like a key of who these people are or something, like a roadmap? I am so confused. And now I will tell you, since I just said that, since I didn't have the book, I listened to it on Audible, and the audio version was fantastic. But it was a likable story. There were just things to me, I don't know, like, all of her friends are super smart and are getting into these like absolutely incredible schools. Okay, that was first part. Number two was that she lives in this very upscale neighborhood. This was like my one issue. I don't know why I had an issue with this, okay? Was that she lives in this upscale neighborhood where like everybody has money except for her, but yet none of them are going anywhere on spring break as seniors. Like I found that very hard to believe. Like they're going on college visits, they're not going like to Cancun. I found that hard to believe. I don't know, because I know a lot of kids like this and they all go on family vacations. So, but you know, or with other friends and things like that. I didn't dislike the book. It just wasn't that great in comparison to the other two. Leah reminded me a lot of myself, and this is all I'll say about this piece because I can't speak for, you know, the bisexual piece and all that kind of stuff. But when I was coming out, there was a period of about a month when I said I was bisexual and then I came out as gay. It felt very much like that in the book. I don't know if that was me. It just felt like that in the book. I don't know that I think it even really matters. I think it's really important that Becky wrote a bisexual character, and she's not the only bisexual character in the book. And, you know, there's all different kinds of characters, and I thought that, you know, it was interesting to me when you talk about the, like, betrayal to a best friend with dating somebody and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to get into that because I want you guys to find out about it. But it was interesting to me when you play bisexuality into that. And I thought the way that Becky Albertalli played that out was really good. Like, I think she really thought it out. So, you know, here's the thing. There were some problems with the book that I had that I don't want to talk about because it would be in a... Maybe I'll do a live stream and talk about it. I don't know. But I don't want to ruin it for people that haven't read it. But there were just some issues that I had with the book that I was like, I don't know about this, okay? And it wasn't as good as her last two books, which is why I gave it a 3. Originally, and it was funny because Dylan the Reader 5 gave it a 4.5 or 5 stars, and then he moved it down to a 3. And I was like, oh my God, what? Because like I always like the same things he does. And I felt the exact same way. I started it really liking it at a 5, and then by the end, I was just like, no, it's not a book that you get done with and you're like, oh my God, like I didn't feel like that. But it wasn't a boring read, it was okay, you know? So anyway, I think that, you know, a lot of people out there would really enjoy it. You know, it adds to the canon of LGBTYA that's out there, and I think it's an important piece for that. I think it needs to be there. And it furthers the story of Simon Spear. If you're interested in that, you'll find out a lot about Simon from Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, or Love Simon if you want to find out more about his character. So anyway, that's all I have to say about Leah on the Offbeat, and which I think the title could have been played into it a little bit more too. There wasn't a whole lot of drumming going on in this book. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.